Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. In War of the Visions Global, let's talk about the release of the 2 Halloween units, and then also the Halloween UR Vision card. This was a surprise, and hopefully a happy one for people. Before, I laid out 3 paths Halloween could go. They could release these units early into Global and then nerf them. They could release these units next Halloween with buffs, or leave them as JP exclusives and make global exclusive seasonal units. I feel like they needed to do something, one of those 3, or else global players would feel like they were being ignored. But Gumi and Square kind of went with the first path, but without buffs, so technically I was wrong. I was too conservative. Gumi surprised me again with their generosity. But I would rather be wrong in a way that would make people happy than be wrong in a way that would leave people disappointed, like if I hyped up something that never happened. Under-promise and over-deliver is a good business practice. But before we talk about the new units, let's talk about the new Vision card. And for some players, this is going to be the real prize. And I'm going to talk about the JP stats here, because that is really what global players should keep in mind when they're considering pulling for it. But let's see. Personal ability. You can only get it if you are able to equip a greatsword. So that's Stern, Christmas Ramada, Orodoa, Rain, and then Super Stern. So not a lot of characters can get the personal ability out of this. But it will be Defense Piercing. And then the way Defense Piercing works is that it takes a percentage off of the target's defense. So if the target has like 50 defense, and then you have 10 defense piercing, you'll take away 10% from that defense. So that'll be -5, so then the target's defense will go down to 45. And then if somebody has 0 defense, defense piercing will do nothing, so it's not great in every situation. But it's usually better when the target's defense is very high. And then the party ability will be slash resistance piercing. That's kind of similar. But say you are attacking a character with 50% slash resistance, and then you have, I don't know, 20% slash resistance piercing. You'll lower the resistance piercing by, I forget what I said now, I think 10. It'll go down by 20%, and then yeah, you'll get that new resistance there. And then finally, there is a vision ability. Is that even in here? Okay, I don't see it here, so I'll just describe it to you. But it is an AP attack, which will do physical attack scaled slash damage. And then it will pick up the element of whomever is using it. So if Orodo is using it, it'll become a wind attack. If Stern is using it, it'll become a dark attack. And then it will lower the target's evade, and then it will hit 3 times. I don't know how the what the hit percentage is going to be for evade. If it's just like a regular percentage, you know, you might have a standard chance to miss anyways. My hope is that it's a 100% hit attack, which will just lower evade and then give you a better chance to get those following 3 hits in there. But we'll have to see how that works once it's released. But yeah, this is a very awesome card, and for me, it's a must-get. It's terrific for Super Stern, who's one of the mainstays of my JP account. But it also really helps Stern, Orodoa, and Christmas Ramada, all units that I love, but I feel like I don't use enough. It will work for Rain. Most of his attacks are slash type. But since they are also magic scaled, they will go up against the target spirit, not defense. So defense piercing will not be a factor there. So you could put this card on Stern, but then have Rain on the same team to get the team ability, and then he would just get the slash resist piercing. That would be a way to use that successfully. And I always say that the most usable attackers have something extra in addition to their attack stat, like Slayers, Piercing, Element Damage, or Breaks. And this card provides 2 types of piercing. That is pretty amazing. This would be overpowered if it weren't limited to so few characters. And it's for a job that kind of needed the help, which are soldiers. Soldiers are great and I love them, and Hazard Break is still one of the most damaging attacks in the game, but they're fragile, so they're kind of difficult to use. This card does nothing to help their survivability, but maybe now their attacks will do so much damage that it'll be more attractive to try to put them into a team. They are the ultimate glass cannon, especially with a self-sacrifice equipped. If you can make a soldier work, then you are a skilled player, basically. But for Super Stern, it'll be amazing. He is a one-trick pony, and so he is easy to counter. But this card will help him get the most out of that one trick, and then if you're not ready for that one trick, then that's bad news. Also, Super Stern is beefier than the average soldier, so he's actually easier to use than those other characters. But with this card, what kind of PvP team comp is it pushing you towards? Well, all slash units is the answer, I think. You could certainly make an evade team out of this. You start with Super Stern and then Vineta, maybe with the Thief subjob, and then you can throw in any slash attacker that you like. And then teams with tanks would also like this, because many tanks use slash attacks. Sasayaki, Engelbert, Mont, Agrius. I saw the difference, a little bit of defense piercing made on my Sasayaki, her attack power. So this card could put her into overdrive, especially if you're giving her both defense piercing and slash resistance piercing, maybe with Orodo as Trustmaster. But the 3-hit attack that picks up the element is wonderful, and really makes those soldier characters more attractive as raid units. I'm curious to see how the damage and AP cost will compare to like Hard Slash or something. So I will pull for this, but I'm kind of wondering how far I want to go with raising the levels. The thing about this card is that you could get it to just like 2 stars and still get great use out of it. 2-star UR Vision card is usually not amazing. It's good, but it's usually only as good as a max MR card. But this card is different because the abilities that it gets are so unique that at any level they'll be usable. No MR card gives you defense piercing or slash resist piercing, and then even if the 3-hit attack did little damage, it would still be helpful in raids for building chains. So I could certainly stop at 2 stars, but I think I am going to go for at least 3 stars, and then 4 would be awesome and would be the best way to protect my Super Stern and other soldiers from future power creep, but that's quite an investment. And like I said before, there's probably one last awesome character coming before the 1st anniversary, and then of course there's the actual anniversary to think about, so be strong, my talisman. Alright, but let's talk about the Halloween units. Go back to the main screen. I was wondering if they would nerf the units, but like even if they did, you know, the really important way that these new characters would affect the meta by being ahead so many months would originate from their elements and jobs, and those aren't things you can nerf, and that's why I really thought that these units weren't coming at all. The elements and jobs are important because the units are released in a certain order so that the new one counters the previous, and they match the upcoming raid, and they set the tone for the next couple weeks of PvP with the maps and stuff. And then the equipment farming events are also in line with maybe weapons that those characters would want. And it's also that unit power creep is slowly ramped up. So with these units out of order, let's investigate how their elements and jobs fit with where we are, and where the game is going for the next 4 months, and if getting these units now, ahead of time, will like make you invincible for the next 4 months. But spoiler alert, no they won't. And I've heard some people guess that the Golem raid would be moved up because Leela was moved up, but that probably isn't going to happen. You want fire strike attacks for the rare raid, so you would want Rarudo. Erude and Rain were good in there as well, but so was Luasa, who also isn't released, so unless they change the rare raid, they can't really move up the Golem raid. And actually looking at all the raids in the next 4 months, you won't need either Halloween Leela or Rairyuu for any of them. You can check my previous raid preview videos, so there won't be any advantage gained there. But Leela is a win magic user, so let's think about who she counters. People immediately think of Kirufe, but I wonder. I haven't done any testing personally, that's my bad. But Kitufe has high magic resistance, decent spirit, and a host of abilities, like magic barrier type of stuff. And Leela's magic damage is not super high compared to other mages, so I don't know. I doubt that Leela can one-punch Kitufe. I still think Howlet will be the better counter. He does slash attacks and has wind imperils and spirit piercing, and much higher overall damage output. Leela has the range advantage, but if Kitufe gets close enough, that might be it for Leela. Kitufe is still hard to take down, and that's part of the reason she is still one of the best units in the game. But how about other Earth units? I think Leela would be good against all of them. If I remember, none of them have good magic defenses, and she should have the range advantage on most of them, except for Summer Lilith, which is not a factor in Global. Kiton might be a problem, since Kiton is hard to hit, and Leela doesn't have a 100% hit attack. But who counters Leela? Fravia. I always forget to talk about her, so I talk about her first. But she would be pretty tanky against Leela, high magic resistance, and then she can attack with slash attacks, which Leela is weak to. You can maybe say the same for Agrias or Gilgamesh. Okay, and how about Rairyuu, an Earth magic-scaled slash attacker? There aren't a ton of lightning units, but Orlando is the most important one to consider. First of all, Rairyuu has good defenses against Orlando. Good defense, and then the element advantage, of course. Then Orlando is weak to magic-scaled attacks, so Rairyuu will get extra damage there. If you don't have Kitufe, and you don't have any interest in building a Drain Force Kiton, I can pretty highly recommend Rairyuu, since getting an Orlando counter is one of the best investments you can make, especially in Global, where so many players got on the Orlando hype train. As for counters to Rairyuu, Lucia could be dangerous because she has the range advantage. Rairyuu is a mid-range attacker. Lucia also has defense piercing, which is one of Rairyuu's specialties. Ododoa and Yeruma could be decent counters. His slash resistance is only -5. And Ododoa has defense piercing and drain force, which can help with that high defense score. But I feel like Rairyuu is not as counterable now as Leela, and combine that with his defensive capabilities, and he might be pretty hard to take down. Alright, but finally, let's start talking about their kits. We'll talk about Leela first. Leela is in many ways the best healer in the game now, combining the speed and range of Calculator with the power of White Mage, with the mobility and survivability of Ninja. And I'll admit, lately when I've been using Ayaka in JP, her spells feel like they take forever to get out. She feels slow to play. I'm not sad about that at all. She still has her strengths, but for ease of use, Leela is the better pick. Maybe the biggest loser of this early release of the Halloween units is Rosa from Final Fantasy IV. I already consider her a lesser healer than Ayaka, but her strength is in the variety of things that she can do, and with Leela also doing healing and damage at range, Rosa's most unique merits are whittled down to her ranged physical attacks, reflex, and the AP restore from her limit break. But Rosa can certainly work as a counter to Leela with her ranged physical attacks and good magic resistance, so there is that. But let's go down, let's look at her abilities. So main job Calculator. She'll get the single target arrow. That's a nice, semi-damaging spell. Doesn't cost very much AP. And then single target cure. And then these two spells will get more efficacy the higher the elevation that the target is standing on. And then height 3 holy. That can be a nice AoE attack. Does not have 100% hit. And yeah, like I said before, Rita does not have a 100% hit attack. But it's light element, so if you need something that is not wind, this could work. And then height 3 Cura, this is crazy because of how much AoE it has and how much range. This can make PvP pretty annoying to go against her. And then a level 4 Eroga, this will be her strongest wind spell, I believe. She'll be using that a lot in PvP. And then here are the sub-jobs for Calculator. Height 3 Don't Act in particular situations. This can be very effective. It doesn't have as high a success rate as other status effects, but yeah, it depends on the map. And then level 4 Aurora, this is not going to be as damaging as the level 4 Eroga. CT Arrange, this will average out all of the CT gauges of targets in there. And then height 3 becomes height 2, level 4 becomes level 3. That can change the parameters of how the extra damage is judged for those calculator skills. For PvP, you're usually going to go up against level 99 units, so level 4 to level 3 is kind of a must. And then the reaction ability is the damage split. You take damage, and then you will counterattack, and then you will heal a little bit, some of that damage. Alright, and then here's the White Mage subjob. This might be the one that you use most often. But Esuna, Protect, Shell, Cure, Curada, Cura, Raise, Erase, and then support ability is Protection from Death, and then reaction ability is Regenerator. Erase, that's the one that gets all of the headlines here. That's a very nice spell to get as a sub-job. And I'm a big fan of Erase versus the regular Raise. The Raise has a lower hit percentage, and then also restores very little. I'm not a fan of Raise. I'll be talking about that more when we get to Rairyuu. But Curada is great. That's a single target heal, which will heal a good amount. And then Esuna is nice too for high difficulty content. Okay, and then the Ninja subjob. I don't know how often you're going to use this, but she has Hayate for extra move, Poison Cloud for also extra move, and then let's see, Shuriken for some physical damage. Her attack's not going to be too high, so I don't think you want to use that. And then Hide, and then Utsusemi, and then the self-buff that raises critical and accuracy. She doesn't have the Futon, that ninja skill, that wind element attack, which will cut through defense types, but I don't think she needs that. And then the usual support abilities, agility and luck up, that can raise her evade as well, and she seems to be pretty good as an evade unit, so you can give her the Sage's Hat and then put her on an evade team. That could be pretty good. And then a Shukuchi for move and jump +1. So yeah, lots of movement, lots of speed on her, and that's part of the reason also why she's one of the best healers, is because she can get around very well. And then she's got great range with her calculator skills to get the healing in there, so yeah. One problem that you might run into, though, with her is that because she's so mobile, she might run to the front. You don't want her to do that because she's kind of paper thin. So yeah, maybe experiment with that. Experiment with positioning, maybe turn off Shukuchi or stuff like that. And then reaction ability is the Poison Cloud. Okay, here's the Limit Break. This is a single target at short range. It will remove all buffs and then do magic damage big. And if the target has a level that is multiple of 3, it will get extra damage. So that's pretty cool. And here is status. HP is not so high. Magic is not so high compared to other magic users. Speed is pretty good. Alright. And then master ability. This is very crazy. All teammates on your team that are also wind element will get HP up 10%, and then wind attack damage up 15. And then for Leela herself, she'll get evade +10. So that cements her position as an evade character, and it makes you really want to put together a mono wind team, perhaps. And then let's look at her Trustmaster. There it is. It's good, but it's not amazing. This is an accessory. And stats are okay, actually. It's got some evade and some agility. That's always nice to get on an accessory that you can equip on anybody, it looks like. And then there's the active ability. For 3 turns, your own magic will go way up, and then accuracy will also go up, but your defense and spirit will go down. The magic buff is really nice for her, since her magic damage output is not as high as many other mages. And then the accuracy is good too, because she doesn't have a 100% hit attack. But the defense spirit down worries me. She's already paper thin, so she doesn't need any help there. I think if you are pressed for time or for resources, you could go to 89 and be happy with her there. I feel like healers, you don't need to go all the way. And if you wanted a magic buff, you could use Mediana or Miranda's TMR instead. The buff wouldn't be as high, but there would be no downside, at least. Okay, next, let's look at Rairyuu, and he's kind of a question mark, because he is a new job, Rune Knight. That's kind of a mix of like Soldier and Spellblade. He has mostly magic-scaled slash attacks, so to make his attack stronger, you would raise his magic, faith, slash attack, and earth attack. To defend against it, you would raise spirit, slash resistance, and earth resistance, and then lower faith. He has an interesting mix of defense, but magic damage output, so I think you would want to use him to hunt physical attackers, maybe Orlando especially. But he has some HP sacrifice skills that comes from Rune Knight, so his immortal spirit that he gets from his paladin subjob will work well with that, since he's taken away HP from himself. And then I guess we can move on to his Trustmaster. That's maybe the thing people are most interested in. It's getting a lot of buzz in both JP and Global, but I'm not so enamored with it. It'll give a re-raise, which is the first instance of that ability in this game. I think the reason I am not so in love with this ability is because I don't love raise, like I said earlier. Full life I like because it gives full life, but raise only gives you back a little, and it's easy to take you down again. Furthermore, only mage types can equip this. Yeah, we can see the list there. I would be more excited about it if like more frontline attackers could use this. It's good, but I think it's important to think about its limitations and then how it will fit your account before you blindly max Rairyuu. Okay, but he's got the Paladin subjob, but I think he's more of a bruiser than a tank. And I think it's also the subjob that you want to use the most with him. But let's look at his abilities. Here's Rune Knight, the main job. He gets Stone Blade and then Stonega Blade, just like Spellblade. So that will give him the Lightning Slayer. And then he has this one, Short Range Attack, and I don't know what that means. Maybe Avian Slayer, or else like Float Slayer? I don't know what that is. And then here's another AP skill. This one's interesting. It has range, but it does very little damage. And then the damage that you do, you will drain. And then also, your magic stat will go up. And then also you will get more slash resistance piercing. So a very interesting skill there. And then finally is a Hazard Slash. This is probably the attack that you're going to use most with him. But kind of like a Hazard Break on Stern, you take away some of your own HP, and then you'll do big damage on people in that area of effect there. And then here's the Rune Knight subjob. Let's see, Hazard Spell. This is a TP skill. You'll take away some of your HP, and then your magic will go up. Next one, another TP skill. This one's interesting. A little bit of range. You target an enemy, and then it will get an Earth Imperil, so that can set you up for attacks later on. And then a couple of support abilities. Let's see, Earth attack up, and then Wind resistance down. That's kind of fun. And the other one is Pierce, and the other one is Spirit piercing up, and then also accuracy up. So these are very cool support abilities. And then reaction ability, when he takes magic damage, he will restore AP. That's kind of similar to Orlando. And then he gets Black Mage, which I think is mostly useless for him. He doesn't get Flare. He gets Stone Rub, but he doesn't get Stone or Stonega. It's kind of a weird choice. Probably the only reason he has this is so that he gets the Magic Up support ability, which I'm sure Leela wish she had. And then there's the Paladin subjob, which maybe you'll be using most often. But all the abilities that we're familiar with, Blade Bash, Attract, Blade, Sentinel, Saint Heal, Divine Grace, Immortal Spirit. I don't know if you need to use Attract Blade on him. You want to use him more as a bruiser than as a tank. So if you can get some attacks off of him, that would be useful for him. And then support ability, HP and defense up. That is nice for him. And then Paladin Guard. When he takes physical damage, he will mitigate some of that. That could be a good one to use as well. And then Limit Break, another range attack with some area of effect. That will do medium magic damage, and then will poison people in there. And recently I've been liking poison, especially with so much regen around. Having the poison can kind of counteract that. Okay, and here are some stats. HP is kind of high, but again, he's taken away so much HP from himself that it's not going to matter that much. And so actually he's kind of similar to Kitufe, a medium-range magic damage attacker with good physical defense. So if you had one, you kind of wouldn't need the other, except that with Rairyuu's master ability, which is very similar to Leela, she will raise the stats of other Earth characters in your party. That means that Kitufe and Rairyuu will work great together. That would be a very tough team to take down, with some pretty good damage output. I suppose you could throw Mont in there for even more physical tankiness. Eileen might be an interesting choice. Overall, your party would be kind of slow, so they would be like moving together more or less, if you like that. Or you could have Kiton in there. She just kind of runs out to the front and then ties up people with Evade, possibly using Drain Force, while Rairyuu and Kitufe bring up the rear. That could be a pretty powerful team. Howlet, who is coming out soon, might be a good counter to Rairyuu. Rairyuu doesn't have great spirit or abilities that give him like magic resistance. Skull is coming out soon, hopefully. I think Rairyuu would do alright against him. Skull does have some magic resistance, but in the long game, probably, Rairyuu would take him down. So overall, big picture, I think releasing these two units now, it won't make the meta like crazy and like flipped upside down for the next 4 months and like obsolete all the future characters. And part of that comes from my belief in the developers. They've done a great job of managing power creep so far. So if they say it's okay to release these units 4 months early, I'm going to trust them. They haven't broken my trust there yet, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt for now. But both of these units look like a lot of fun to use, Rairyuu especially, and they will sit comfortably near the top of the meta without breaking it. I feel like Halloween Leela will be more popular and kind of easier to use. I think she can fit in like more variety of teams, and you'll get a lot of long-term use out of her. I think Rairyuu, it's going to be a case of like the more you use him, the more you will like him. He'll have some like hardcore fans, but maybe most people won't understand him. But I might be surprised. Maybe we'll see Rairyuu become really super powerful. Okay, at the end of the video I wanted to make my guesses for the Christmas units, but I think this video is long enough, so we'll end it here. Alright, if you're pulling tomorrow, good luck. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.